One of the most dramatic comparisons amongst high-end pianos would be a Bösendorfer versus Steinway matchup, a literal battle of opposites in a lot of ways. Where the Steinway's rim is designed and built for maximum rigidity and projection, the Bösendorfer's rim is softer, thinner, and creates far greater warmth in the immediate vicinity of the piano. Where the Steinway D can fill a concert hall of 2,000 seats quite adequately with no amplification whatsoever, rarely will you find a Bösendorfer in the same situation without microphones or amplification of some kind. Where the Steinway is as wide range of tones from bass to treble, from soft to loud, the Bösendorfer is far more consistent in timbre, both in range as well as dynamic output. The experience of playing a Bösendorfer, at least to the pianist's ears, is akin to using a stereo enhancer with headphones. There's such a dramatic difference in what reaches the left versus the right ear that you're left with the impression of this wide expanse of sound, but yet with highly clear tones. Now, the lack of harder, denser hardwoods in the structure and rim leaves a bit of a missing gap in the harmonics in the lower mid-range of the Bösendorfer, which leaves the listener with a sense that while big, the tone isn't quite as full or thick as some ears would prefer or what one gets from a Steinway. This has led to Bösendorfer's reputation as being more of a jazz or early classical pianist's ideal, since both styles of music often feature virtuosic solo lines in the right hand or in the treble section. You might think of Mozart or perhaps Oscar Peterson, which with most of the lower density of the notes in your left hand occurring in kind of the third octave, which is a style of orchestration for the piano that seems to lend itself incredibly well to the Bösendorfer. It also works quite well in many studio settings where mic placement and post-production can help fill the gaps in some of that harmonic thickness while still taking advantage of the rich stereo image and the clarity in the treble. The brand has retained a reputation of one of the very best in the industry for close to 200 years, and while the design hasn't evolved with the times, at least some could argue that, the workmanship still remains extremely high, and owners can enjoy the prestige of having a small piece of musical history in their homes. Steinway's blend of harmonics and its high energy conservation in its design would normally be considered a more lively and a more dynamic piano than that of a Bösendorfer, with a wider range of nuance and tones available. Now, this comes at a sacrifice of clarity in some situations, and as a result, both supporters and detractors of the brand generally agree that the piano is probably the most forgiving of the high-end concert brands. To people unhitched from the brand's romance, this is a downside, particularly when comparing it to Bösendorfer or Bechstein or Fazioli. The Steinway gives the player almost training wheels, the effects of which wind up masking and glossing over some detail and clarity. But in any case, both instruments are really like living museums of the ingenuity of the 19th century's industrial boom. Not necessarily pianos of the 21st century per se, but a reminder of just how the highest levels of craftsmanship can still deliver an amazing product, as it always has throughout the history of musical instruments.